Brandon Crosslin, now I'll pass it over to you. How much weight is off of Brandon Jones's shoulders with this victory, and doing it with 2 Cup Series regulars following him in the next 3 spots?
Brandon Jones said it repeatedly on Twitter here after the win, just how much it feels like he's able to silence that. It feels good to silence the haters, as he calls it. Again, just another time. I'd like to go back and find that here. There he is. He said, yeah, every win is special, but this one hit different. The grind, the setbacks, the long nights of prep. We poured so much sweat and heart into getting here, and it showed. I've heard the doubters, but moments like this remind me why we keep pushing. It's not just about proving them wrong. It's about proving to ourselves what we're capable of. None of this happens without the team on and off the track. I'm so thankful for the coaches who challenge me, the family who's been in my corner from day one, the sponsors who make it all possible, and the fans who ride with us no matter what. Thank you for the love. We're going to keep fighting for more. That's Brandon Jones on X. And yeah, he's been out of the winner's circle since 2022. So a lot lifted off his shoulders there. And not only that, but since 2022 in Martinsville, but after switching away from Joe Gibbs Racing and going to Junior Motorsports and having a dry spell there, and then coming back to coach and getting the win at Darlington. I can convince my wife to come with me early for practice and qualifying for Xfinity, so was able to see all of that. And he was surprisingly fast in both of those sessions. And I was thinking, well, this is kind of nothing against Brandon Jones, but I thought, well, it's kind of unusual. He's pretty fast here. So, but what really wasn't in the game for any of the race, really. Certainly in the top 5, but you had Harrison Burton win stage 1. Justin Allgaier made a killing out of stage 2. And then all of a sudden there's Brandon Jones there at the end with a good restart. So it's huge there for Brandon Jones and for coming back to Joe Gibbs Racing. He's got some stuff to prove here still.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add. I think, again, just looking at Brandon Jones's career, obviously, again, it's easy to forget just how long he's been in this series, and stops at RCR and Joe Gibbs his first stint, and then Junior Motorsports, and now back at Gibbs for his second stint here. And through all of it, I think, having the pressure on him to prove his doubters wrong. And again, I think it's also easy to forget just how close he was to coming close to a championship 4 spot in 2022. Of course, everybody remembers, the incident with Ty Gibbs there, but, in an alternate timeline where that doesn't happen on the last lap, I think Brandon Jones, who knows if he would have gone on to beat Ty at Phoenix for a championship, but could have been in a position to really surprise a lot of people there and make some noise in this series. And then, of course, he goes to Junior Motorsports, and it's just not as good of a fit. And I don't know, Brandon, I've been kind of scratching my head here. I guess it just sometimes comes down to team chemistry, but do you have any ideas why, he's been able to find victory lane so quickly here? He was able to find it on multiple occasions in his first stint with the team. What do you think is it about Brandon Jones that has made him successful at Gibbs, but saw him struggle in his couple of years at Junior Motorsports?
I'm dumbfounded. I can't tell you what is different here, because I was so hopeful for his move to drive for Kelly Earnhardt Miller and Dale Jr. Whenever he did just a season ago. There might be clips on this show saying, how great it was going to be, a breath of fresh air for him to move to the 9, and the season didn't really bear that into fruition at all. So, I really don't know what the secret sauce is staying with Coach Joe Gibbs, other than I really don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. And I think, again, going back to, Martinsville, I think, it was very apparent after that happened. Like, there were jokes that, he was going to move to Junior Motorsports just for the Phoenix race because he was so ready to be done and get out of there after what Ty Gibbs did to him on that last lap. But, and maybe it's different now. Obviously, Ty is in the Cup Series, and, there's a lot of things that can change in just a few years. But it really was remarkable, just how much, I'm just looking at his results right now. He did get a couple of runner-up finishes. He's always been strong at Kansas and got a runner-up there in 2023 and then in Charlotte last year. But, aside from that, 14th place finishes and points both those years. So couldn't even get into the playoffs with a full-time Junior Motorsports effort. If that's the level of equipment that you're given in the series, I think that's the bare minimum expectation that you need to have, is that you can put that car into playoff contention at the very least. And he simply wasn't able to do that. Of course, getting to victory lane helps your cause very greatly, not having to rely on points. And of course, he's now in a position where he won't have to worry about that for the rest of the season. But yeah, I guess it just comes down to, the right situation and the right fit. Again, if we were just talking basketball, I mean, the only thing that comes to mind for me, just trying to think of a racing comparison, the only sports comparison I can think of off the top of my head is maybe Al Horford. When he was obviously had success, when he was just getting drafted in the beginning first half of his career in Atlanta with the Hawks, and then moving to the Boston Celtics. And then again, my 76ers picked him up, and that did not work out very well at all. I think Sixers fans are still not too happy with how Al Horford's stint went here in the city of Philadelphia. But then he spent a year with the Thunder and then ended up back in Boston and has had tremendous success and rejuvenated his career and won a championship just last season. So, we'll see if Brandon Jones can do the same thing here on the Xfinity Series with Joe Gibbs Racing. But very strong run for him, obviously. And again, to do it with a Cup regular in Chase Elliott in second there, and another one in Ross Chastain close behind, multiple Cup regulars in this race to get the job done. As much as I'm not a fan of the practice of Cup drivers in the lower divisions, I think that, when somebody like Brandon Jones goes out and does this and beats a couple of Cup regulars along the way, I think it only makes the victories even more of a statement win for him and that team to be able to do it against that kind of competition.